and Vanessa for each other. So we say, and after that first date, Doug calls me, and immediately he sounded like he hit the jackpot and won the lottery. And he was just like, man, she showed up. She was just wearing jeans and a T-shirt. She was fries. And I just asked her, where do you want to go? And she said, well, let's just go get some pizza and a beer. And he was ecstatic. It was literally like he won the lottery. And fast forward a couple years, Doug and I, we had the opportunity to go to D.C. last January together. Not this past one, but in 2019. And so we were there just visiting and having a good time, and my buddy that we were staying with took us out to Georgetown one night, and he took us to one of the oldest bars in D.C., and while we're sitting there, we're just talking, and he pointed out there was a booth that was in this bar where John F. Kennedy proposed to Jackie, and in that moment, Doug's just lit up. And he started talking about proposals and talking about proposing to Vanessa and when he should do it. He was talking about the summer, and he's like, well, what if I don't want to wait? We're like, well, then don't wait. And this is like 1 o'clock in the morning, and he's like, I need a FaceTimer. So he literally FaceTimed her in the middle of the bar at 1 o'clock.
East Coast.
Yeah, East Coast. It was East Coast. There was like 4 or 5 people sitting at that booth eating dinner and having a good time, and he didn't care. He comes over and is like, can I interrupt you really quick? I just need to show my girlfriend this booth where John F. Kennedy proposed to Jackie. And that night, we just talked about it, and he's like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And so that next morning, we're sleeping in my buddy's like living room. I'm on one couch, Doug. It's like 6 in the morning Eastern time, so like 3 o'clock Western, and I wake up, and he's like whistling and listening to music. And I'm like, what are you doing? And he was just giddy. He was just so excited. And so later that day, we're walking, looking at, I think, like the Lincoln Memorial. And I'm like, where's Doug? And he's on his phone. And I'm come over to him. He's already on the phone with jewelers, talking about rings and looking out after this. But so fast forward, we get home, and fast forward about 3 weeks. Vanessa has, every year, she does some professional photography that she had set up, and Doug's like, that would be the perfect time. And the importance of this story is that Doug, during that time of wanting to propose, he started preparing for it, where they were going to get proposed, in Balboa down in San Diego. But the important part, and he called me about it, and he was talking to me, is he didn't want to just propose to Vanessa. He wanted to make sure that Emma, anytime he entertains, everyone's like, man, you're such a good host. And that's who he is. He wants everyone to feel included. And he wasn't just marrying Vanessa today. He wants to be part of Emma's life and so forth. And that's who Doug is. Vanessa, there is not enough good things that could be said about you. Caring of a person that she is, how she is thoughtful, wants to include others. And for example, like today, this is her day. She's the bride, and as it should be her day. But just the thoughtfulness of, even with my wife and everyone, that wanting just to include everyone into it, that's who she is. And she sent to me a few scriptures that she wanted me to share through this time. And it was no surprise that the first scripture was Ephesians 4, 2 through 3. Be completely humble and gentle. Be patient, bearing with one another in love. Make every effort to keep the unity of the Spirit through the bond of peace. And if that doesn't define who Vanessa is, humble what love is. So many times we think of love as just an emotion, but it's not. God defines what love is in 1 Corinthians 13, and love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It's not proud. It does not dishonor others. It's not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no records of wrong. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always hopes. always protects, always perseveres, always endures. Love never fails. And that scripture is extremely important because the first aspect of love is patience. In marriage, Doug and Vanessa, you can ask anyone, there's going to be many times where your patience are tested by your spouse. And it's our choice. Patience isn't an emotion, it's a choice. And you're choosing in that moment to be patient with one another. And if you choose to be patient, then you can go to the next place of love, which is kindness. Kindness is in your heart. And that's what kindness reveals. Love bears all things does. So there's going to be moments where, Vanessa, you're going to have to pick Doug up and bear what he's going through patience and kindness, and bears all things. And then there's moments, Doug, you're going to have to be by Vanessa's side and bear things that she's going through as a unit, as one couple. But then Paul tells us, the author of Corinthians,